Capcom has finally given us some new information on the future of Mega Man. And this happened during the 45th annual shareholders meeting between Capcom and their big investors. If you don't know what this is, or you couldn't tell by the name, basically every year Capcom as a company has a meeting with their biggest shareholders where the shareholders get to ask a bunch of questions about the future of Capcom. And since Capcom is a gaming company, most of the questions are actually about games and not just boring shareholder stuff like you might assume. And it's not just Mega Man either. If you are interested to see the entire transcript of the shareholders meeting, Capcom has it public and I'll link it down below, but there was only one thing asked about Mega Man and I think it was a pretty big deal. One of these shareholders straight up said, "Please tell me what plans you have for the Mega Man series." Which first of all is great because it means the shareholders are interested in Mega Man, even though that is the only question asked about Mega Man, but it was a pretty good question to ask, I won't lie. I'd probably ask the same thing. But unlike most of the time with Capcom and Mega Man, I think we actually got a pretty good answer from Capcom. They said, quote, "Mega Man is one of our highly valued IPs and we are considering how to create the games for it on an ongoing basis." So that is a promising answer from Capcom, but what does it mean? Is it just corporate jibber jabber that companies always say to make people and their shareholders happy? Well, for once, I don't think so. Capcom in general has been ignoring Mega Man for a while, and they generally do just say, yeah, we have some plans for Mega Man, guys, don't worry, we really do. For example, I made a video last year on last year's shareholder meeting where they were asked about how they were going to capitalize on the success of Mega Man 11, since Mega Man 11 sold over 1 million copies. And they gave a much longer and more corporate-friendly answer saying, quote, "Including Mega Man 11, the latest entry of the franchise, Mega Man is one of Capcom's historic IPs and is loved by fans. And as such, we want to take care in how we develop the series. We are considering how to approach the production of new entries in the series, which requires numerous factors, including the development of a solid concept, ideas, and gameplay, etc." This was still a good sign, especially at the time, because it means that Capcom was putting time into considering what they wanted to do with the Mega Man franchise. But there is one big difference between this year's answer and last year's that I think is actually a very good sign for us Mega Man fans. And that difference is the word ongoing. This year Capcom said they're considering how to create Mega Man games on an ongoing basis, which is huge. Now frankly, this is still one of those situations where I'll believe it when I see it, but again, I think this is a good sign. Having plans to make a Mega Man game with unique ideas is one thing, but having plans to start releasing Mega Man games on an ongoing basis? I mean, that hasn't happened for like 20 years, maybe 15 if you count Mega Man 9 and 10 as an ongoing basis. But does this mean that Capcom is planning on making Mega Man 12, 13, 14, as well as maybe Mega Man X9 or X10, etc.? Well, I certainly hope so, but I doubt that's what they meant, and I think there are a few realistic approaches that we can assume they're going to be going with. The first and simplest approach is more legacy collections. The Classic Series, X Series, Zero Series, and especially the Battle Network series have done great as far as releasing a legacy collection, so the next logical approach will be to make a Mega Man Star Force legacy collection, and in all honesty, I'm surprised we haven't seen it yet. Maybe it's a bit harder to make a collection for those games because they were on the Nintendo DS, and having two screens is hard in itself to deal with, but with the bottom screen being a touch screen on top of that, I could see why they would run into some issues. That being said, I think there is a lot of money to be made with a Star Force legacy collection, so I'm sure Capcom could figure it out if they wanted to. It's just understandable why they would cover the Star Force series last, since there are a lot more complications with porting these games to current consoles. I mean, sure, it would work great on a 3DS port, but I mean, then you're selling to a very limited audience. It would also work pretty well on the Switch, but how would you implement and emulate a touchscreen on Xbox and PlayStation? Personally, I do not know, but I guarantee some of you guys in the comments probably have some good ideas, and Capcom has probably brainstormed over this issue as well. But another elephant in the room here is, what about the Mega Man Legends collection? It only has 3 games if you count the misadventures of Tron Bonne, but people love Mega Man Legends and it has a serious cult following. I doubt a Legends collection would do as well as the Battle Network collection or even the original Classic Legacy collection, but it would bring some much needed attention to the Legends franchise and probably even bring in some newer fans. Plus, they could use that Legacy collection as a litmus test to see if they can finally make a Mega Man Legends 3, though I guess that could also potentially lead to them blaming the fans again if Legends 3 does not come out, and I don't think I would be able to handle that. Either way, a Legends collection, while probably not being as popular, would not be a bad idea, and I assume it wouldn't take up too many resources to make this game at Capcom, but who knows. Another interesting idea would be the long-forgotten, cancelled Mega Man Anniversary Collection that was originally going to be released for the Game Boy Advance. We've all heard of the original Mega Man Anniversary Collection that had Mega Man 1 through 8 as well as the 2 Power Fighters games, but there was planned to be an Anniversary Collection for the Game Boy Advance that had all 5 of the Rockman World or the original Mega Man Game Boy games included. Now that alone alone I think would make for a great Legacy Collection, especially if they managed to add an in-color option, but I'm not sure how that would work. I just know that modders can make Game Boy Color hacks, so surely Capcom would be able to do it with their own games, right? But even if they weren't able to add that, and they were worried that the 5 Game Boy games were not enough to sell a Legacy Collection, why not use that as an opportunity to add some games from the more obscure Mega Man games that weren't included in the other collections? For example, the Power Fighters, the Wily Wars, Wily and Right, No Rockboard, and I don't know, maybe Rockman and Forte, and Rockman and Forte 2. Now, I will admit, that would be a pretty unorganized group of Mega Man games, but it would still be fun, and it would still probably sell. Plus, at least I didn't say to add Mega Man X Command Mission, because I really wanted to say that, and I do think they should add that game if they are going to make a Legacy Collection based on more obscure games. But okay, this is getting unrealistic. I would not be surprised if they did one for just the Rockman World games, but adding all of those other games probably would not make much sense. Well, okay, maybe you could throw in the Wily Wars, but I don't know, I feel like I'm rambling. One last Legacy Collection related idea I had that could help them create ongoing games though would be re-releasing and upgrading the original Legacy Collections. Now, this sounds crazy, but hear me out. First of all, they probably could not get away with this with the Battle Network Collection since it's so new, and probably not the Zero Collection either, but the original Mega Man Legacy Collection came out in 2015, almost 10 years ago at this point. And one of the biggest complaints about the first Legacy Collection and the second one were that they weren't just one big collection. Now, I've heard this was due to saving money on Switch cartridge hardware and stuff, but I think at this point they've made more than enough money by selling these as separate games. And now they could easily get away with making a Mega Man Legacy Collection Complete Works or something like that. Plus, it could be re-optimized for newer generation consoles that didn't even exist when the first Legacy Collection came out. Now, I could make an entire video about improvements, but just imagine this. Mega Man 1 through 10 all in one game plus Rockman and Forte. That alone would sell great, especially if Capcom adds Legacy Collection 1 style challenges to all 11 games. I know those challenges were made by Digital Eclipse and not Capcom, and I did cover this in a video a while back, but I think if Capcom put the work in, they could easily make this improved collection and sell it for $60 and people would eat it up. I mean, I would at least, but I like Rockman and Forte, so maybe I'm biased. But to add to this is also something they could ongoingly add stuff to with like DLC, including the 5 Game Boy games or the Power Fighters or, I don't know, Rockman and Forte or whatever. The possibilities are endless, and I really think, while unlikely, this would be a great path for Capcom and once again bring some much needed attention to the Mega Man series. Plus, let's not even mention a Mega Man X Legacy Collection Complete Works that had like X through X8, Command Mission, and maybe even Maverick Hunter X. That would go bananas, and Capcom, if you're watching this, it's just free money. But enough talking about Legacy Collections. I do have one final idea I'll bring up towards the end of the video, but let's talk about the Mega Man game Capcom has already confirmed to be working on that leaked a while back called Rockman Taisen. Rockman Taisen has been in development since 2019 and is rumored to have been delayed since COVID, but according to the leaks, it was going to be huge. It had a $2.5 million budget, was projected to sell over 3 million copies, which is 3 times what Mega Man 11 sold, by the way, and it even had multiple post-launch DLC packs planned. The main problem with Rockman Taisen is no one knows whether or not it's been cancelled. I know when you heard that it was leaked, you probably had your doubts immediately, but this same leak also leaked several other Capcom games that have all since released, and it would be both crazy and disappointing if this was the only one that Capcom cancelled, especially with a $2.5 million budget. But I do suppose that is Mega Man for you when it comes to Capcom. But what is Rockman Taisen anyway if we do assume it wasn't cancelled and has just been delayed due to COVID, which is fair, that is a very likely scenario. Well, that's where it gets tricky though, because no one really knows for sure. Some people think it's a spin-off fighting game just based off the word Taisen, but I've even seen some debate about that, so I'm pretty sure nobody knows what this game is. It's just a high-budgeted, brand new Mega Man game that Capcom thinks is going to do very well financially, and it's not a mobile game, which is a great sign. I wish I had more to say about this game, but because we know so little about it, I don't want to spread false information or anything, but if you follow ProtoDude on Twitter, go search through his tweets on this game because he's a great journalist, especially when it comes to Mega Man and stuff like this, and he's covered it much more than I possibly could in a single video, so please go check out ProtoDude and the Rockman Corner website, because they are both great. But anyway, despite not knowing much about this game, I did feel the need to bring it up because we're talking about the future of Mega Man, and in the shareholders meeting, it seems like Capcom is planning on doing ongoing releases, and in order to do that, you do have to start with one release, which could very well be Rockman Taisen, whatever it is. But what about a way better release, like Mega Man 12 or X9 or Legends 3? Well, those are all certainly possible, but I wouldn't hold my breath. Like Capcom said in last year's meeting, they were trying to find ways to develop solid and unique concepts in gameplay and stuff, which is promising on this front, but at the same time, these 3 games are holy grails that I think surpass even Half-Life 3. That being said, I think the most likely out of any of these would be Mega Man 12. I mean, Mega Man 11 sold great, they talked about coming up with unique ideas for Mega Man's gameplay last year, and now this year they're talking about making ongoing Mega Man releases. Mega Man 12 seems to me like a no-brainer in that aspect. Mega Man X9 is also a real possibility though. I have no clue where it would head story-wise, and the X Legacy Collection did do a bit worse than the Classic Series Legacy Collection, but I think we all know, including Capcom, that releasing a Mega Man X9 would be monumental and might even sell more copies than Mega Man 11. In fact, if I was a betting man, I'd say barring any weird gimmicks that they advertise, it would sell more copies than Mega Man 11. And you know what? I am a betting man. I love gambling, so I do bet that it would. I mean, the only reason the end of the Mega Man X series did not sell as well is because the end of the X series was X5 and X6, followed by Mega Man X7. Most people didn't like those games. People did like Mega Man X8, but at the time it was too little too late, and X8 and X7 were an inseparable pair of games that were both looked at in the exact same way. But it's been over 20 years at this point, Capcom. I think everyone is over that and just wants to see a new Mega Man X game. But I don't know, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. But then of course there is Mega Man Legends 3. I do think this is the most unlikely of these 3, at least as of right now, just because the fan base for Mega Man Legends is smaller, and Capcom hasn't really done anything to even check for an interest in that game since they blame the fans for not releasing Mega Man Legends 3, which I will never get over. But that doesn't mean it's impossible. If Mega Man Legends 3 was made as this giant open world game for current generation consoles like the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, as well as PC, it could really be a huge success for Capcom, but it's all speculation in that aspect. Before I summarize everything though, I do want to bring up the idea that I had all the way back in 2014 when it comes to new Mega Man games that I think would be extra good in today's day and age. Re-release the Mega Man Legacy Collection Deluxe Edition like I was talking about earlier with Mega Man 1 through 10 and Rockman and Forte, but with online multiplayer. Now, I have some really crude images I made in MS Paint all the way back in 2014 for some examples, and as silly as this is, I think it would be so much fun. Basically, just imagine you and a few of your friends or even randoms online are all playing Mega Man 2 at the same time. Some people could be in Flashman stage while you take on Airman or whatever, you get the idea. And when one person beats a boss and gets a weapon, everyone gets that weapon and the stage is complete for everyone, so it's like online co-op. There have been mods made almost exactly like this in games like Super Metroid, and while I will admit Super Metroid is a better game for something like this, I still think it would be an incredibly fun addition to a Mega Man re-release that would push a lot of new people to buy it. Plus, if you guys disagree and think that's a terrible idea, just add a race mode where you can race your friends in Mega Man games for different stages or even an entire game. Or maybe add a mode where the last one to die wins and you keep playing until everyone but the winner dies, like Mario 35 almost, but with Mega Man. There are tons of options like this that I think would fit perfectly into Mega Man, and it would bring a new appeal to a more modern audience with the Mega Man series. And just adding more online stuff to classic games like this in general is always a good idea. Plus, if this does happen, I just want to confirm that I was way ahead of my time in 2014 for coming up with this, so yeah, I think you guys should subscribe in case I come up with any other cool ideas that won't happen until 2035 or something. But in all seriousness, this video has kind of gone off the rails a little bit, so let's summarize. Basically, Capcom has officially stated that they want to work on ongoing releases for Mega Man, which is huge. Now again, this is a I'll believe it when I see it type of situation, but I still think this is a great sign for the Mega Man community. I don't know what they plan on releasing, but it could be anything from more Legacy Collections to Rockman Taisen to even Mega Man 12 and X9. Although I really just wanted to play Mega Man 2 with online multiplayer. Is that really too much to ask? Well, even if it is, who knows what Capcom will do or if they'll even do anything at all. These are just my thoughts on the matter, and while I'm not a Capcom expert or a business expert or anything, I am a huge Mega Man fan, and I feel like I have a pretty big audience of Mega Man fans watching, so I wanted to share my thoughts with you guys. So what do you think? Are all of my ideas crazy? Am I being too optimistic? Is this really going to be the time Capcom makes a new Mega Man game? And most importantly, do you guys like the idea of online co-op multiplayer in Mega Man? What about a racing mode? Come on guys, it would be fun. Imagine if they really released it and I got to play with you guys on a live stream online. That would be like a dream come true. But anyway, as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know some of you probably think I'm blowing this out of proportion, or maybe that I'm dumb for even making a video on this, but to be completely honest, I'm a little bit sick and I had to make a video for doing 2 videos a week, and I might even have COVID. Some of my family has COVID, so it's a big hullabaloo, and I'm currently working on the ranking every version of Dr. Wily video, and I didn't want to rush that or make it a bad video due to being sick, so here we are. Plus, Maybe some of you guys don't keep up with the Capcom annual shareholders meetings. I mean, I know I probably wouldn't have if I wasn't a Mega Man YouTuber at this point, so hopefully at least some of you guys either enjoyed my crazy ideas or heard about it here first. So, you know, it's still a video. I hope you guys enjoyed it.